To achieve the panel style line, we'll be using the front and the back bodies with 2 darts. Here we have our front bodies drafted out already without adding our sewing seam allowance on the waist and on the side. Next thing we'll do is to cut off the dart excesses and cut open the side to get our second dart location. So we're going to cut this off. We'll cut it to the bust line. Then we'll cut open to create another dart location on the bust point line. So this is what you have. So I'm going to mask it down so that it doesn't move. The next thing we'll do is to mark the midpoint of the armhole. We'll take the measurement of the armhole. We have 7 inches. We're going to mark the midpoint, divide it by 2 to get the midpoint. Here we have midpoint. Then we're going to come down by half an inch to get we're going to come down by half an inch. Then we'll come to the waist measurement. We'll take our measurement from this point to this other dart leg. We'll take the midpoint. We have 4 3/4 inches. So we're going to get the midpoint by dividing it by 2. The next thing we do is to connect it to where the half an inch point is. Okay, we're going to connect it now. Then I'm going to make a dot here. I'm going to use my armhole curve to do the other connection. You can make it straight, depend on what you want to achieve. You can make this straight. So this is what we have. The next thing we'll do is to close up this waist darts and transfer all the darts to the side. So we're going to close up. Having done that, we're going to cut out the panel. We're going to close up. We'll close up the side panel. Here we have our front panel. We're going to put it aside, then work on the back bodies. We have our back bodies drafted out. The next thing we'll do is to mark the midpoint of the armhole. So we'll start taking measurements from the shoulder. Remember, this is sewing seam allowance for the joining of the front and the back bodies. So we have 7 inches. We'll divide it by 2 to get the midpoint. Here we have the midpoint. We'll take it down by half an inch. Here we have the half an inch. Then we'll come to the waist measurement. We'll take the measurement from here. We'll end it at the second dart leg. We have 4 3/4 inches. We'll divide it by 2 to get the midpoint. Then we'll connect it to where the half an inch point is. So I'm going to stop at this chest line. Then I'll use the curve ruler to connect this part. So this is what we have. The next one is to cut out. Remember not to add your sewing seam allowance at the waistline and at the side. So cut open. So this is what to have for the back panels. So take the front. Let me just indicate it. Back panel. Center back panel. So we'll place our front and back panel, that's the side panel, and mask it. So we'll place our front and back panel and close the side up. That's the reason why we don't need to add our sewing seam allowance. So close it up. Having done that, we're going to place it on another paper to trace out. We'll place it on another pattern. We'll place it on another paper and mask down. Make sure to get your guideline or grain line for direction. So what we'll do next is to trace out and add our sewing seam allowance. Firstly, we'll have to indicate the midpoint of both the back and the front side. Having done that, we're going to add half an inch sewing seam allowance at the side. Then we'll add our seam allowance at the waist. We'll trace out this armhole curve. We'll come out by half an inch. So we're going to cut out. So this is what we have for the side. Make sure to rule out. Your label. Then you notch at the midpoint. So this is what we have for the side panels. We're going to trace the front and the back so that we'll get the full pattern ready. I'm going to place it on another paper. So this is the center front panel. After drawing your guideline at the side and at the waistline, I'll place it to make sure this end meets on the line. Then I'll mask it down so that it doesn't move. So I'm going to trace out and add my sewing seam allowance. I'm going to add 1 inch on the waistline for sewing seam allowance. Then I'll add half an inch at the side. I'll rule out my darts legs. Then I'll add half an inch for sewing seam allowance at the dart leg if you want to cut out. I'll rule out my dart leg. I'll rule out my dart leg. I will take in by 3/4 inch or 1 inch from the bust point. Here is the bust point for the end of the dart sewing. So I'll continue adding my After ruling out the dart leg, I'll continue taking half an inch measurement. I'll place the center front on another paper. I'll rule out my guideline for direction. So you make sure that this end meets on the line while you make the center front straight at the side. Then I'll tape down for it not to move. After taping it down, then I'll add my sewing seam allowance, which is half an inch at the side. Having done that, I'm going to rule out the dart legs. Then I'm going to add my sewing seam allowance, which is 1 inch at the waistline. Having done that, I'm going to connect. Make sure they meet. You use your curve ruler to connect here. So I'm going to take in by 1 inch from the bust line. That's where you're going to end your sewing of the darts. So I'm going to take this measurement to get the midpoint. I'm going to rule out. Then I'm going to connect the dart legs. So I'm going to fold in the darts before I cut. I'll tape down. I'll give it a curve. Now we can trim off. So you just notch where your dart intake is. So this will be the center front panel. So the next thing is to place your center back panel on another paper. Then you mark down. Having done that, to add our ½ inch sewing seam allowance at the side. For the back, for the center back, you can add half an inch here in case of ease. So the zip allowance is going to be 1.5 inches. In case of ease, you can make it 1 inch for the zip allowance after adding half an inch. After tracing and cutting out, so this is what we'll have. This is the center front panel. This is the side front and back side panel, and this is the center back panel. So you after tracing and cutting out, so this is what we'll have. This is the center front panel, and this is the center after tracing and cutting out. This is what we'll have: the center front, the side, and the center back panels. So you just have to sew in your dart intake before you close up. Same thing with the back before you close up. Remember, you can add 1 inch addition to the back zip area in case of ease, in case you want it to be a little bit freer for you. So you can just add 1 inch. After tracing and cutting out, this is what you have for the front and the back panels. This is the center front panel. This is both the front and the back side panel, and this is the center back panel. So all you need to do is just to close up your dart intake before you close it with the side panel. You can close the dart intake at the back, then you close up the side. So in case you want to add ease, you can add 1 inch on the zipper area for ease. So be very chill. Good Lord, help me. After tracing and cutting out, this is what we'll have for the front and the back bodies. And what is the panel styling? After tracing and cutting out, so this is what we have for the panel styling. We have the center front panel, we have both the side front and the side back panel, we have the center back panel. So all you need to do is just to close up the dart of the front and join the side together. You also do same at the back and join the side together. In case you want to add ease, you can just add half an inch or 1 inch at the zipper area, but make sure you know easy. You can make, in case you want to add ease, you can manipulate it by adding it at the area. Okay. Jesus. Where is you? Is it on? Okay. So this is what we have for the panel style line. We have the back. So this is what we have for the panel style line. We have the center front panel. We have both the side front and the side back panel. We have the center back panel. So all you need to do is to close up the dart intake before you join the side together. Also the same to the back before you join the side together. If you want to add ease, then you have to manipulate the sewing seam allowance you add to your fabric. You can add one. Okay. After tracing and cutting out, this is what we have for the panel styling. We have the center front panel. We have both the side front and the side back panel. We have the center back panel. So all you need to do is to close up the darts of the center front before you join the side. Then you do same at the center back before you join it to the side also. In case you want to add ease, so you can make the sewing seam allowance 3/4 inch at the side, then 3/4 inch at this other side for ease. So that's all for the panel styling. Thank you and God bless you. See you in our next class. Thank you and God bless you. See you in our next class.